जय गोपी जन वल्लभ जय गिरिवरधारी
जय गोपी जन वल्लभ जय गिरिवरधारी
यशोदनंदन ब्रज जन रंजन
यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन
यमुना तीरावनचारी
यमुना तीरावनचारी
जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी
जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी
जय गोपी जन वल्लभ जय गिरिवरधारी
जय गोपी जन वल्लभ गिरिवरधारी
यशोदानंदन ब्रज जन रंजन
यशोदानंदन व्रज जन रंजन
यमुना तीरावनचारी
यमुना तीरावनचारी
जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी
जय राधा माधव जय कुंज बिहारी
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे
निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल
निताय गौर हरि बोल हरि बोल हरि बोल निताय गौर हरि बोल
जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद
जय जय प्रभुपाद प्रभुपाद जय जय श्री प्रभुपाद
जय नित्य लीला प्रविष्ट ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिवाजकाचार्य स्तोत्र श्रीमद केसी भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद महाराज की
जय
श्रीमद् भागवतम महापुराण की
जय
ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय
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 नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं
नारायणं नमस्कृत्यं
नरं चैव नरोत्तमं
नरं चैव नरोत्तमं
देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं
देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं
ततो जयमुदीरये
ततो जयमुदीरयेत्।
नष्टप्रायेष भद्रेषु
नष्टप्रायेषु सभद्रेषु
नित्यं भागवत सेवया
नित्यं भागवत सेवया
भगवती उत्तम श्लोके
भगवति उत्तम श्लोके
भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी
भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी।
Hare Krishna. So today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 4, entitled as The Appearance of Sri Narada, text number 2. Shaunak Uvacha Suta Suta Mahabhaga Vadano Vadatam Vara Katam Bhagavatim Punyam Yadaha Bhagavan Chukaha. Shaunaka Uvacha Suta Suta Mahabhaga Vadano Vadatam Vara Katam Bhagavatim Punyam Yadaha Bhagavan Chukaha. Would anybody like to repeat?
Shaunaka Uvacha
Shaunaka Uvacha
Sruta Sutta Mahabhaga
Suta Suta Mahabhaga
Vadano Vadatamvara
वदनो वदताम्बर
Katham Bhagavati Punyam
कथं भागवती पुण्यं
Yada Aha Bhagavan Chukaha
Yada
यदा भगवान्
Okay, translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Maharaj. Word to word translation. Shaunaka, Uvacha said, Suta Suta, O Suta Goswami, Mahabhaga, the most fortunate, Vada, please speak, Na, unto us, Vadatam, of those who can speak, Vara, respected, Katham, message, Bhagavatim, of the Bhagavatam, Punyam, pious, yet, which, Aha, said, Bhagavan, greatly powerful, Shuka, Sri Sukadeva Goswami. Translation. Shaunaka said, O Suta Goswami, you are the most fortunate and respected of all those who can speak and recite. Please relate the pious message of Srimad Bhagavatam, which was spoken by the great and powerful sage Sukadeva Goswami. Purport. Suta Goswami is twice addressed herein by Shaunaka Goswami out of great joy because he and the members of the assembly were eager to hear the next text of Bhagavatam uttered by Shukadeva Goswami. They were not interested in hearing it from a bogus person who would interpret in his own way to suit his own purpose. Generally, the so-called Bhagavatam reciters are either professional readers or so-called learned impersonalists who cannot enter into the transcendental personal activities of the Supreme Person. Such impersonalists twist some meaning out of Bhagavatam to suit and support impersonalist views. And the professional readers at once go to the 10th canto to misexplain the most confidential part of the Lord's pastimes. Neither of these reciters are bona fide persons to recite Bhagavatam. Only one who is prepared to present Bhagavatam in the light of Sukadeva Goswami, and only those who are prepared to hear Sukadeva Goswami and his representative are bona fide participants in the transcendental discussion of Srimad Bhagavatam. Om Ajnanatimidandhasya Jnananjan Shalakya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swamrupa Kadamahyam Dadati Sapadantikam. Vandeham Shri Guru Shutapad Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavancham Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhan Vitasya He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagat Pate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Sapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Vancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyev cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swaminiti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gaurvani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschate Deshatarine. Hare Krishna, welcome again. So, translation once again I will read text number 2, canto 1, chapter 4. Shaunaka said, O Sutta Goswami, you are the most fortunate and respected of all those who can speak and recite. Please relate the pious message of Srimad Bhagavatam, which was spoken by the great and powerful sage Shukadeva Goswami. So, so far we have gone through the first 3 chapters, and obviously text number 1 as well of chapter 4, canto 1 of Srimad Bhagavatam. So this particular verse is spoken by Shaunaka Rishi. So Shaunaka Rishi is representing the all the sages of Naimisharanya. In the previous verse, we also saw last week that Shaunaka Muni, who stood up and then started congratulating Sutta Goswami. And previous sloka, it says that congratulated Sutta Goswami by addressing him as follows. So that as follows thing is now continuing from text number 2. So earlier, Sutta Goswami answered, the questions put forward by the sages of Naimisharanya that we have gone through in previous chapters. Particularly in chapter 3, Sutta Goswami explained all various incarnations of Lord Krishna, because that was one of the questions posed by sages of Naimisharanya. But towards the end of the chapter 3, Sutta Goswami also mentioned that Krishna actually is the original. He is the source of all the incarnations. There are so many incarnations explained, all the Purusha Avatara, Guna Avatara, Leela Avatara, Visha Avatara, etc., etc. But in verse number 28, which we also call the Paribhasha Sutram, the core definition of the, this parampara. So that Paribhasha Sutra means formula. So there he mentions Chansha Kala Punsa Krishnastu Bhagwan Swayam, that Krishna is the source of all incarnation. He is the supreme Godhead. Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, and after that, in the subsequent slokas of that chapter 3, Sutta Goswami glorified Bhagavatam in various ways. So, with all this explanation, the rishis and headed by Shaunaka Rishi, they are all very excited and very joyful and very much eager, extremely eager to hear further about Srimad Bhagavatam. And this is chapter 3. Basically, it also tells about the qualifications of those who can, recite Bhagavatam, and those what should be the qualification required for the listeners. Those who are hearing Bhagavatam. So those things are explained in this chapter as well, and of course about Narada Muni. So we saw that in, last week in text number 1, that Shaunaka Rishi actually congratulating Sutta Goswami. So there in the purport, Prabhupada mentions that anybody who can, act as a congratulator in any such goshti or such assembly should have 3 qualifications. That he should be leader of the house, elderly person, and knowledgeable. So this is very, practical learning we can get from this purport as well in any of our, congregational, events. Who is the person who is going to thank, vote of thanks, etc., or congratulate the, guest or the main speaker, like that. So that person should be the leader of the house. In the elderly person means, senior, also knowledgeable. So these are the 3 qualifications of person who can act as a congratulatory. There was one more interesting terminology used there, Kulpati. So Kulpati is Kul means actually family, but family not that not that sense as we know the family. Family here means like Gurukula. So there also this terminology used Kula. So it is said that Kulpati means the person who is heading an institution which has at least like 10,000 vidyarthi, 10,000 students or disciples. That is that person is Kulapati, means he is heading that institution. So even now, even current days as well, the vice chancellors of universities, particularly in India, they are called Kulpati. And obviously universities, they will have more than 10,000 students enrolled. So they are still using that terminology. Though in the Vedic era it was mainly for spiritual education, but now it is all sort of material education is provided, but they have still used that terminology Kulpati. And interestingly, if you see that Kula, and now we call in English school, so it is very similar. So probably it's been taken from that word, that traditional word Kula. From there, probably this school is also coming. So we can see the very interesting connection there. So again, we can see the very first thing Prabhupada is clarifying in his purport, that this Sutta Goswami is addressed twice. Sutta. So anybody who reads it from maybe grammatical point of view, then that person may get confused why it is sutta is being addressed twice, sutta. So they may conclude wrongly that it is some kind of grammatical error here. Actually, it is not. So in any of these like poetry and all, there are 2 things in Sanskrit called the kavya paksha and bhava paksha. The literary part of this, and then the meaning behind it, the sentiments, the feeling behind the what is being said. So that is why we need acharyas to explain all these things. And if you see in the very outset, first thing Prabhupada is clarifying that it is not some kind of error, but why it is happening, why Shonak Rishi is addressing Sutta Goswami twice, Sutta Sutta. because out of great joy, and he is very eager to hear the text of Bhagavatam from the lotus mouth of Sukadeva Goswami. So out of that excitement and joy, he is addressing Suta Goswami twice, Suta, Suta. So this is very important, and that's why we should be following the, the commentaries provided by the, great acharyas in Parampara. Otherwise, see, the very first two words may confuse, reader who is just trying to read it from a scholarly point of view. Oh, there is some grammatical error here. No, it's not. There is something, the bhav paksha of it, the feeling behind it, and this is what explained by Srila Prabhupada here. There are no errors as such. And it is not like any other mundane, poetry or literature. It has got deep, profound meaning, each and every word. And we need acharyas to help us understand. Without their mercy, it's not, we won't be able to understand even a single phrase, single word in the, the scripture like Srimad Bhagavatam. So, and then again, we see that Shaunak Rishi is saying Mahabhaga. To whom he is addressing Mahabhaga? Suta Goswami. So, Bhaga means, something who is very fortunate. And Mahabhaga is, the most fortunate. The, fortunate, and here is most fortunate. So generally, whom we consider fortunate in this material world, somebody who's got, a lot of maybe money, good health, beauty, some intelligence to understand things, some material intelligence, very high IQ, etc., etc. They may be called fortunate. Yes, that can come from the, good prarabdha, from good karmas from the previous lives. Somebody can get all these, good material qualities. But here, Suta Goswami is addressed as Mahabhaga, most fortunate. So who is the most fortunate? Here, the most fortunate is who is, directly connected with Supreme Lord, serving him. That is the most fortunate thing one can have. Who is directly serving Lord, servant of Lord. So he is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's the Lord of innumerable universes. So somebody who is directly serving that person is called Mahabhaga here. Most fortunate. So unlike what we see, we think in this material world, who is the fortunate, having some material opulence. But here, Suta Goswami is not having any of these like riches and all. He is called Mahabhaga, most fortunate, because he's understood the Srimad Bhagavatam. He has got this fortune to understand it from Sukadeva Goswami himself, and in that way he is Mahabhaga. Then another term used here is Vadano Vadatam Vara, which Prabhupada translates as and respected of all those who can speak and recite. Vadano Vadatam Vara. He is most respected of all those who can speak and recite. So why he is most respected amongst those who can speak and recite? So because he is telling about Lord's pastime and his devotees' pastime. That is his business. So he has understood it from Sukadeva Goswami, realized it, and then he's explaining it further. So if you see in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 12, also we get this, Tulya Ninda Stuti Mani Santusto Ena Kena Chitta. So there, Prabhupada explains that Mani means, somebody who is very silent, But Prabhupada explains that this silence does not mean that that person, does not speak, but he speaks only about matters related to Krishna. In that way, that person is called, Mani. Mani means something who is very, calm, silent. So, and the person who speaks only about, subject matters related to Supreme Lord and, his devotees, so that it can benefit others. In that way, Suta Goswami is addressed here, Vadano Vadatam Bara, respected of all those who can speak and recite. We can hear so many, great orators. But what do they talk? Generally, all this mundane affair. So if somebody is, giving some speech or addressing a gathering, etc., etc., it should benefit the, audience. And what is the most beneficial thing is to get them delivered, get them, opportunity to understand and get rid of all this material entanglement, provide them some permanent solution, so that they can get rid of this dukhalya mashashvatam. So one who speaks about those subject matter, as per Shastras, are fortunate and respected among those who can speak and recite. So that also shows that, professional reciters, they will not have this impact. And that we have seen in the previous weeks, in the previous, few verses, that Prabhupada has repeatedly mentioned this, that, Bhagavatam should not be heard from the professional reciters, because professional reciters, they have their own ulterior motives. They are motivated by certain things, maybe, after some money, some fame, name, etc., etc., and then they will not be able to tell the exact the message as it is, which is coming from the Acharya Parampara. So another point we can see, that since Shaunak Rishi, all the sages headed by Shaunak Rishi, they are very eager to hear. So that means in a spiritual, practice, this hearing is very important. Hearing is very important. This is how we learn, how we understand. And that we can see from our own, lives, practical example. You can study certain book, you can read it carefully, you may able to absorb and understand certain points. But if somebody is explaining those concepts, then through hearing process, you get better grasp of that subject matter. Right? That is why we have all these school, colleges, universities, their professors, teachers, they are, trying to explain things, through lectures, etc. Because that is the oral, reception process of gaining knowledge. And this is how all these Vedic texts were taught to the students in previous eras. They were just, through oral reception, they were trying understanding everything. And we can also see that this sense is only, the ear is only active even while we sleep. All other senses are like in dormant, going into some kind of, sleep mode, dormant state. But hearing is still active, right? Otherwise, our, setting up this alarm clock won't have any meaning. We set up alarm, right? And then because of that hearing, that sound, you then because of that sound, some trigger happens, and then you come out of your sleep. So that means that this hearing process is active even while we are sleeping. So this is the very, very important thing to hear. And also, as we see that, as we sing, like, Yasya Prasadat Bhagavad Prasada. So what we are saying, that Guru's, mercy is like mercy of Lord himself. But how do we get that mercy? Mercy, we get it through hearing. Whatever is being said by, a spiritual master, you hear and then you follow. Guru Mukha Padma Vakya. So in all these things, we see that hearing is very, very important. A lot of stress has been given on this hearing, and very carefully hearing. It's not that with very superficial. No, very careful listening, and then try to understand it. If there is any confusion, then clarify it. That with the pranipati pariprashnen sevya, the questions can be asked. Not a problem, because the idea is to get the concept very, very, very clear. So hearing is very important. That's why it is also said that when we are chanting, we should hear those Lord's name as well. That will purify our heart. Somebody told Prabhupada that when I chant, then I can't, visualize Krishna, and I get so many, my mind goes here, there, everywhere. The Prabhupada says that what is the problem? You just chant and hear. Nobody's saying that concentrate this and that, just you chant and hear whatever the vibrations are there of Lord's name. You just hear it, chant and hear. So that's why hearing is very, very important. It's so important. We can also see even from the life of Prabhupada as well, that he is a spiritual master. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Maharaj was very happy with Prabhupada because he saw this, very carefully listening, hearing tendency in Prabhupada. So once it so happened that Prabhupada's spiritual master had organized some, parikrama around Braj Mandal. Devotees, they used to go every day in some place, around the Braj Mandal. And Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Prabhupada used to lead that tour. So one day he was not that well, so he told his disciples that he won't be able to accompany them. So those who want, they can go, and others can stay, and they will be obviously getting more opportunity to hear from their spiritual master Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Maharaj. Obviously, many people went as per their schedule, because they were more interested in visiting all these places around Braj Mandal. But very few people stayed back, and Prabhupada was one of them. Stayed back and wanted to hear more and more from his spiritual master. So that way, his spiritual master very, very happy. This is the hearing, listening is a very good quality for a devotee who wants to get good understanding. And then unless until we get this good understanding, we won't be able to follow the instructions. So the first thing is to hear properly. And what should we hear? Here is about Lord's pastime and Lord's devotees pastime, like things mentioned here, all the leelas mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam, etc. And then that eagerness, he try to with that eagerness to hear, because that will eagerness will bring attention, and when we have attention, then we can only get attraction, and that comes from eagerness. And as Prabhupada has mentioned in previous verses as well, the last verse of chapter 3 as well, that the hearing should be done with a rapt attention, because so the Goswami also said that I heard with rapt attention. So that attention can only come once we are eager, very, very inquisitive, eager to hear. Then we will have this focused, very much, attention not disturbed by our surroundings. And when we hear through rapt attention, then you get the understanding and realization, and then it's possible to follow those instructions. So this eagerness is very, very important. So now the question may be asked here, why these sages were so much eager to hear? Because there might be sages, some maybe even gyanis, sort of impersonalists, may not be great devotees or a devotional practitioners. They may be very exalted, yogis, etc. But why they are very much eager to hear, and why everyone should be eager to hear? Again, we get this answer from Srimad Bhagavatam. We actually it is in chapter 2, verse number 39 of the same canto, where it is said that only by making such inquiries, and let me open that verse. Yeah, only by making such inquiries in this world can one be successful and perfectly cognizant. For such inquiries invoke transcendental, ecstatic love unto the personality of Godhead, who is the proprietor of all the universes, and guarantee 100% immunity from the dreadful repetition of birth and death. Na yatra bhuyah parivarta ugraha. That is the Sanskrit phrase in that thing. So only by this transcendental subject matter, what can happen? That there is a guarantee, and Prabhupada says 100% guarantee, immunity from the dreadful repetition of birth and death. That's the only way out from this. Parivarta ugraha, ugra, something like very like cruel, or Prabhupada is translating that is a dreadful situation. And what is that dreadful situation? Punarapi janmam, punarapi marnam, punarapi janani jatareshana. That repeated cycle of birth and death. Punarapi janani jatareshana, entering into the womb of a mother. So, only possibility is to inquire and hear about the transcendental subject matter, and that will invoke transcendental ecstatic love unto the personality of Godhead. So this is the reason why these sages, they are very advanced, exalted personalities, in the subject matter of spirituality, and they are very much eager to hear. Now, the point here, again, we can see and say that just hearing is not, only hearing is not important, but hearing with quality. That's why, that thing was explained, that with rapt attention, very attentive hearing. It's not like, just like, ticking in the checkbox. Yeah, I heard about it, I was there in the class, but physically I was there, but mentally I was somewhere else. So that thing is not recommended here, hearing with a rapt attention. And again, we can see that hearing also we can have under the three modes of goodness, material qualities. It can be in the mode of goodness, mode of passion and ignorance. So as we know, three modes of material nature, with the something, if hearing is done in the mode of goodness, then what will be the motive to understand, and then purpose will be to try to get rid of this, material entanglement. That will be the objective, In mode of passion, it could be that, okay, I'm hearing so that I can get this knowledge, and then I can speak those words, and then get, I can impress others by speaking what I've heard. That motive is there. Getting some kind of adoration, some kind of praise. That hearing could be in the mode of passion. And mode of ignorance is that, that results in, again, anger, envy, anger and enviousness, and pride as well. Those kind of attitude will be there if hearing is done in mode of ignorance. So idea is that, going it good to the mode of goodness and beyond it, gunatita. So with all this understanding, now the question may be asked, how to, develop eagerness to hear Krishna Katha about, the spiritual subject matter, about the Lord's pastime, etc. Yeah, I want to, and I am, I want to hear very attentively. I want to develop this taste for it. But actually, attentively hearing or eagerness can only come if we are getting some taste, right? If we are not getting taste, then obviously that attention and interest will not be there. By force, it cannot be done. So the practical question can be asked, then how to develop that, tendency, how to develop that attitude that, yes, I'm very much eager to hear. So again, Bhagavatam provides answer to this question as well. And it is again there in chapter 2 of the same canto, where it says, Shushusho Shraddhanasya Vasudeva Katha Ruchihi Syan Mahat Sevaya Vipra Punya Tirtha Nishevana. So Vasudev Katha Ruchi. Ruchi means like, taking interest. So Prabhupada translates this as, O twice born sages, by serving those devotees who are completely freed from all vice, great service is done. By such service, one gains affinity for hearing the message of Vasudeva. So here is the secret given to serve the great devotees, pure devotees of the Lord. And by serving them, what do we get? This affinity for hearing the message of Vasudeva. In that way, Vasudeva Katha Ruchi, that will be developed. And what we have to do, Shushusho, means serving. And even if you see in Bhagavad Gita also, Krishna says, Tad vidhi pranipaten pariprashnena sevaya, serving the spiritual master, approach this self-realized person. Tad vidhi pranipaten pariprashnena sevaya, approach him, serve him, and then submissively ask your queries and questions. That is the method. And by serving, we get this quality of hearing attentively and also getting ruchi, the interest in Vasudev Katha, in the hearing about the pastimes of Lord. And once we get ruchi, obviously we will be always eager to hear. That ruchi, that interest should be there. Through interest, it will be eagerness. Through eagerness, it will be attention. Through attention, it will be attraction further. And this is like a cyclic process, complementary each other. That attention will create attraction, and that attraction will create further ruchi. And in that way, it will be ever increasing thing. So in spirituality, actually, there is no stagnation. It will always keep on increasing. There is no stagnation. It always increases. That's the way we can see whether we are progressing. We can always assess ourselves. Do we get really enjoyment in doing something more and more for the Lord, in the service? If we get enjoyment, pleasure, then it means we are progressing. We cannot be said, oh, I have done this much and that's all. I'm not going to do anything more than this. So that means that eagerness is still not there. Eagerness will mean a tendency to do more and more. Unlike material world, where if you do more and more, you get exploited. Here, if you do more, you get more, and that more is you're getting more opportunity to serve, and in that way, you're getting more, mercy, and in that way, the connection is the bond. That relationship with Lord is getting strengthened. So that means by serving Bhagavat, Bhagavat personality, the great devotees, we can get attraction to this book Bhagavatam, which is non-different than Krishna himself. It's literally an incarnation of Krishna. So it's important to serve great devotees, pure Bhagavat. And that service is also done through hearing. Because when we hear, then we are able to follow what is being said and follow their instructions. And yes, that means it should not be heard from professional reciters. Prabhupada is saying that they have got different motives. He's especially mentioning that neither of these reciters are bona fide persons to recite Bhagavatam. And he's saying that some professional readers at once go to the 10th canto to misexplain, not to explain, to misexplain the most confidential part of the Lord's pastimes. So directly do not come to the most confidential part, particularly in 10th canto, which is about, Madhurya, about, Raslila, etc. So it has to be gradually developed, that consciousness should be pure. We should have that much of knowledge to understand those, the most confidential part of Lord's, transcendental activities. So that is why canto by canto, chapter by chapter, once you get that understanding, then only, you should be able to understand and relish in its true sense. That's why Prabhupada is mentioning here, they are mainly mis-explaining to their mundane understanding, not on the spiritual platform. And as we can see, it's very practical that we should go systematic, right? Even if we, say for example, there are so many things, subject matters, in mathematics, the complex numbers, the differential calculus, integral calculus, etc. You have to go through, like year 1, you understand something basic number, year 2, year 3, like that, and GCSE level, etc. Then only you can understand these complex concepts of mathematics, or for that matter, any subject. You cannot just jump directly on that. Don't be able to understand anything. And probably you will have some misunderstanding, misconception develop, which will be very, very difficult to undo with. That's why it is step by step and in a proper guidance of somebody who's bona fide. You just take any teacher and, get tuitions. No, it has to be a bona fide one. And that's why here it is somebody who's coming in the that parampara. And Prabhupada concludes his purport saying that, both qualities for both hearer and reciters, Prabhupada is mentioning. Only one who is prepared to present Bhagavatam in the light of Sukadeva Goswami, and only those who are prepared to hear Sukadeva Goswami and his representative are bona fide participants in the transcendental discussion of Srimad Bhagavatam. So, what we can get out of this, as a key takeaway from these verses, that eagerness to hear is very, very important. Hearing is a very important quality. And we can get this, we can develop this eagerness or interest by serving the devotees of the Lord. Okay. So with that, I will stop here. It's already 9:02. So thank you very much for all your participation on this Sunday program today. And if there are any questions, then please go ahead. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Prabhu. Another interesting class, basically. And importance of listening is really good. So if anyone has got the questions, please go ahead or put it in the chat and we can read it up as well. Thank you.
I think everybody was listening carefully.
Looks like it, isn't it? Actually, while everybody else is thinking about the questions, Prabhuji, can I ask one question? It's not a proper question. It's just, as you mentioned that the professional Bhagavad Gita, whoever is saying, is not very good, and we can understand why now. But it's going on in India so much. How come it has not been stopped? Now, how come nobody says something about it? Because it's so much misguiding, isn't it?
Well, we should not get disturbed with that. We should be doing our, following the instructions which Prabhupada is giving. If there are people, they're doing so many things. So it's not that we pick fight with them and say, no, you are not, authorized to say anything on Bhagavatam, etc. No. Because if we do so, actually, we would be in turn disrespecting Bhagavatam. So we should be just, we should be out of those kind of atmosphere, not getting involved in it. very intelligently, nothing to do with us, like that. Let them do what they're doing. We cannot, even criticize. I mean, Prabhupada, he is the, pure devotee. He's got this authority to write all these things in his purport. We can just follow his instructions. So we cannot go and challenge them. There is point is not that. Point is that we understand what Prabhupada is saying, that it should be from a person who is in disciplic succession, who is bona fide, who is representing, this presenting Bhagavatam in the light of Shukadeva Goswami. Okay. So let them do whatever they are doing. I mean, there is nothing which we need to worry about. We need to just follow whatever is being said by Prabhupada and spread that message.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Anyone else has got any questions?
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you for the wonderful class. I have one query. Yes, we are listening lectures, and sometimes when we listen lectures through YouTube or anywhere, we hear that, we listen, but some of the concept we don't understand properly. Is listening without understanding a sin?
So listening without understanding.
Is it a sin or ignorance? Should we continue to do that, or should we
Okay.
do something?
So you are saying listening carefully but not getting proper understanding. Is that sinful? Is what you're saying, right?
Yeah. If it is face to face, we can get that clarified. But many a time these days, it's more of one.
Hare Krishna. Okay. See, it doesn't mention here. Has it been mentioned anywhere that you should get proper understanding as well? You may not, but we should be putting our end, our effort, sincerely, very sincere effort to listen attentively and try to understand. We may not be able to understand. Nobody can claim that he has understood all the subject matter. But what is the expectation? That the qualification is that we should be putting our sincere effort. That's all required. End result is with the Lord. But we put our effort. This is with us. And if we are putting sincere effort, Krishna will make sure that we somehow or other understand all those subject matters. Tesham satatyuktanam bhajatam priti purvakam dadami buddhi yogam tam ena mamupyantite. Krishna is assuring this, that he will give this intelligence so that we will be able to understand and go back to him. Ena mamupyantite, dadami buddhi yogam tam. So that is then Krishna, he will take care of that. Our own, we don't have this capability to understand. So as Acharya says that Bhagavatam, when we hear, study, try to learn, we should not be thinking that I will be able to conquer Bhagavatam, that I will become master of this subject matter. Rather, we should be ready to be conquered by Bhagavatam. That means that it will change our our lives, our personalities, how we behave, how we act, by imbibing all those teachings of Bhagavatam, teachings of various devotees of the Lord, their pastimes as mentioned in Bhagavatam. So we should be taking it with open heart, ready to be conquered. Understanding or not understanding is not mentioned here. It is, the only qualification is hearing it with rapt attention.
Thank you, Prabhu.
Thank you, Prabhu. I think he's mentioned something in the comment. Only person who can claim they know Bhagavatam is Narada Rishi, Lord Shiva and Sukadeva Goswami, not even Brahma. So this is our attempt to show our gratitude to the Lord by attempting to hear and trying to understand. Thank you very much, Prabhu. Yes. Okay, is there any other question? No, nothing in chat? No. All right, so I thank you very much for your participation in today's Sunday program. So I'll hand it over back to you, Sukwa Mataji, if there are any announcements.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Jagat Guru Srila Prabhupada Maharaj ki jai.
Yeah.
Oh,
Okay, so basically, I think the Rath Yatra is the one which is Basingstoke one on 16th of July. Apart from that, I don't know any more announcement. If anyone else has got any announcement, and about the allotment also, if anyone wants to do the announcement.
we have 24-hour Kirtan Mataji next week.